Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm excited because I'm going to share with you an interview that I had with Mr. Daniele Siragusano, image engineer at Filmlight, and we discussed topics like what an image engineer is doing, what constitutes a good or a bad look in grading, should we be fearful of AI, and other subjects. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Yeah, I'm Daniele Siragusano. I'm an image engineer at Filmlight. I started 10 years ago, and yeah, I'm looking over the color management side of things and also image processing, exploring together with the development, new tools for colorists in discussion with the creatives, with the colorists together, and then trying to bring this into the product. Yeah, I think I joined Filmlight for, and I was on one side on the workflow side of things when we had this Baselight editions and all of the color workflow side of things, and then I was always torn to image processing, color science, and I had great mentors that helped me to grow into this position, and I was always I had an intrinsic motivation to really take everything apart, understand it, and improve it. Yeah, I think it's important to understand that this is not an effort of a single person. It's a team collaboration. I have the luck and the honor to always present and be the voice of that software, but it's really a team effort. There is many people behind it, and getting a good tool like X-Grade or Chromogen is a team effort. There's algorithmic side of things, but also there's a lot of UI side of things, which I have no clue about. So all of the UI is written by really professional, really talented software developers, and so I'm doing more exploration research and writing a proof of concept, trying different things, and then luckily there's a big corpus of very smart people at Filmlight that then help to bring this all together. So it's really, I think a single person could not come up with the tools we have together. So it's, even if I show with my face and Andy and I and Bob are presenting all of the work, but it's really a team effort. Yeah. When we wrote the TrueLight Color Space system, we always try to be agnostic and let every color management workflow really be first citizen in Baselight. So no matter if you're using ACES or a custom workflow, it's always a first citizen in the pipeline. And by having seen all of these different pipelines in an equal state, we learned a lot ourselves, and that brought us to the position to also write our own color management workflow based on TCAM, and that was again a joint effort of Richard Kirk and myself and others and Andy to come up with I think at that time when we a novel approach where we try to really have an unbiased color rendering which does not do any preferred color reproduction, no look is in simple terms, that is part of the pipeline, so that we can emulate different looks or so. And I think that is now a few years later is becoming an industry standard, I guess, that the DRTs become cleaner and cleaner. The color management does really just make sure that the image looks similar at different viewing conditions, but then all the creative aspects are happening basically in the creative color grading stack, which gives also the colorist much more freedom. Yeah. At Filmlight we have a lot of data points for film reproductions, and when we extrapolated the film rendering to the core looks which we have in Baselight 5, we looked at a lot of transforms and what they do to the image, and those edits were kind of hard to achieve with traditional RGB based tools, and I was always intrigued by the fact that it was always very hard to come up with something that mimics film, and this is it's an engineering kind of principle. If something feels hard to do, or if something is complicated to do, then you typically in the wrong domain. So you're in color, for example, you're in the wrong color space. Something that is very hard might be extremely simple if you're in the right domain, right? So doing an exposure change in linear is very simple, but doing an exposure change in tone map Rec 709 is almost impossible because you need to unbuild a lot of stuff. So I was always intrigued by or curious, could we find a set of principles and a color space and some design goals so that it becomes actually quite easy and enjoyable to actually create and craft looks. And it was the beginning of the journey of developing Chromogen, which took like several years to develop. But I think it comes to a point where it invites people to experiment, and the parameter space is wide, but you actually never produce ugly images. That's so all of the possibilities lead always to something pleasing, which is kind of nice. Chromogen is a framework and a collection of tools specifically designed for the purpose of building robust and general looks from scratch. So with this collection of tools, you can you can take a pretty clean digital image rendering pipeline and produce something very interesting, and it allows you to build looks that abstract from reality to gain immersion and bring some natural behavior into a pretty artificial system, which is a digital computer and a digital like a linear light display, which is calibrated to be as unnatural as possible and following exactly technical specifications. And so it brings back in that that naturalism into a very artificial world. A look is typically an operation of edits, of color transformations, and if you have a smooth transformation and you put on top of it or after it another smooth transformation, the resulting transformation will be smooth. So really the point is to limit yourself to a certain family of transforms that produce smooth results, because then you can add as many as you want together and the result will be still smooth. But if in that collection of transforms you have one transformation which produces basically a kink, right? So a non-monotonic step function or something like that. That one, you only need one transform, and that ripples to all the way to the end of the transform. So you have one bad transform in your collection of transforms, and the whole look will be basically poisoned by that one edit. Whereas if you, by design, avoid that, then what comes out is typically a good look. So a look that generalizes that generalized well is painted in broad strokes. You don't have like very localized, sharp edits, but very broad edits. That's typically what a good look, I think, makes. Is like producing something interesting, but in very broad strokes. Nowadays, fear is fogging your mind and let you think through things. I think AI is first of all a very terrible term, because it already brings that human aspect onto technology where there's actually no real humanness in those algorithms. At the end of the day, that's just technology. It's just computer science, pretty cool computer science. It's a big pile of operations, matrices, tensor transformations, but it has nothing to do with that kind of like fear that you might get from seeing a doppelganger or seeing, like all of those fears, like, oh my God, it will take my place and nobody will notice and I will be locked away, and all of that, those kind of anthropomorphization that's happening when we talk about machine learning, just because we saw too often Terminator and Matrix and all of that. I think it's a really incredible set of algorithms and techniques more than anything else, and we haven't really explored the whole depths of it, and I'm looking really into new ways of modifying data. Basically, that's at the end of the day, that's what we want. Is we want to generate and modify data to and then produce in this case, nice images. Yeah, but there's like, I think, a lot to explore with using these new types of tensor multiplications and tensor modifications. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the challenge is always the same: getting the cool stuff out to the user in a way that works, that is meaningful. You can be tempted to do stuff that looks cool in a demo, or ticks a tick on a checkbox that you can put on the website. Yeah, we have this. But what we're really after is like making meaningful tools that really change and improve the way colorists approach color grading. So I always be most satisfied if the tools we are producing really are used on every shot, and they're really robust and make the work of the colorist more enjoyable, and helps to express the creativity, and yeah. So it's always that internal pressure. So what is the next thing we want to do that is as transformative as Chromogen and X-Grade? But stay tuned. I think we're not running out of ideas.
All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this interview. Daniele is a very knowledgeable professional, and I'm super grateful he shared a little bit of his time to answer some of my questions. In the meanwhile, please leave a like, comment down below, and let me know what you thought of this interview. Subscribe to the channel, come and say hi on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.